Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. Our boy Luke Willson will join us here in just a moment. How are we doing, man? Everything okay over there?
Everything's all right.
He's in here. I just don't know if the headset's working.
The headset's not working.
Okay, so you can't hear anything?
I can't hear Partsy.
You can't hear Noodles. You can't hear. Maybe we got to figure this out, Doogie. Sneak back in here and figure this out.
You got an adapter problem.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Once he gets hooked up, I got a question for him, it was trending on Twitter, and I was seeing it last night. I was like, I wanted everybody to weigh in on it because you guys have the sports angle. And I'm wondering if the coach was in on it, but
okay, go ahead. Throw it out there. We'll answer it, and then we'll bring Luke in.
Antonio Pierce, why did he kick a field goal?
In general, you mean?
No, at the end of the game. The worst head coach in NFL history. There are two possible explanations for Antonio Pierce kicking a field goal here. He's the worst head coach in NFL history, or he bet on the Raiders +7.
I can't imagine. I don't know. I mean, that game was such an irrelevant football game, the Raider game yesterday.
But that's what I mean. It was 20-12 with 2:50 left in the fourth. And he kicked a field goal on fourth and goal. You can tie the game if you get
you score, you go for the 2-point conversion. If you kick the field goal, I understand what you're saying. I guess we have Luke. Go ahead. You can ask Luke.
Live.
Because
we're live.
Antonio Pierce kicked a field goal or chose to kick a field goal fourth down. It was fourth and goal, and they were losing by 8. And they were they were on the 20-yard line. Why would you do that?
That I don't know. And to be honest with you, that kind of goes to him being somewhat of a young coach. What numbers or what analytics guy tells you that it's a better chance to kick the field goal, go for an onside kick, and then complete another drive for a touchdown, especially when you have, I think he was hurt, so Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell got hurt, Gardner Minshew leading the charge. So there's really no answer for that one.
The only reason I asked that is I have a buddy who's a huge fan of the Raiders. He's ask Luke. He's what the hell is going on? It was almost like the coach is in on betting on it. That's why he was so rattled. He texted me. He's like, "Can you please ask the guys?"
It must have been fourth and long. Or so. I mean, obviously, if that's the situation. Well, I hear you, but I don't know.
2:50 left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. I guess with timeouts in the fourth. I'm not trying to explain it. I'm just I don't know. I mean,
because then they ended up getting gas on the next drive too. I remember Rams got a first down and that bad boy was over. And I think, or did the Raiders get the ball back and throw a pick? I believe
that game was so irrelevant. I don't know why we're talking about it.
We were locked
Sorry,
in
I apologize. It's because of my buddy who's a big Raiders fan.
All right. Do we have an answer for Noodles, buddy? It's
stupid.
A bad he shouldn't have done it. He should have gone for it.
Yeah, there we go.
Don't ever bet on the Raiders. That's what the answer is. That
or be a Raiders fan, I guess.
Yes.
That furthermore.
Yeah, that's their fault.
Anyway, good to see you. We got a lot going on.
Not good to see
everything?
you, man. It's not good to see you.
I have a proposition for you. We're looking for an intern. Hayes and Bro, do you want to come over? Do you want to leave this guy in the dust?
No.
I'd rather. We need an intern. Tar. I'd rather eat tar.
Al's brother and I were talking today. We want to welcome
Al's
you into
brother
the fold.
is a scumbag.
Well,
that's
he's
the best
winners.
word to describe you guys. When he came up with the term scumbags, it's the best word to describe you guys.
And you know
Partsy,
what?
do you not agree with this? We said some things we shouldn't have said when we were kind of fat and happy. I think these guys have taken it to another level where they're disgusting, and I've had enough of it.
O-Dog, I couldn't agree with you more. It is disgusting. It's scumbag behavior. It's fraudulent activity. But you know what's worse is the front running. Nobody likes a front runner. You guys have a good weekend last week, and what happens? I got Al. I'm reading Al's bro listing out picks. Check, X. Where were those tweets at?
Well,
huh?
If
what about Doogie, who's on your team?
No, he's not.
Doogie goes on there every time you guys put a win. He puts Hazenbot with a fire. Where were you last night, Doogie?
That's not true.
Couldn't find you. And the fact that you guys clearly you haven't lived in America. Clearly you haven't lived in America. The idea that you would bet against Pittsburgh when Uncle Donnie was in the building, this is Pennsylvania.
That's valid. I mean, he was.
These people don't like communism over there.
He was flipping burgers.
He's flipping burgers.
He was talking about Arnold Palmer.
Golf.
Yeah, there was some weird stuff going on.
Uncle Donnie's in the building. You take Pittsburgh. Come on.
I agree with you, but it has nothing to do with Trump or the Steelers. It has everything to do with the Jets are so dysfunctional and they're awful. And I hope everyone is seeing it the way I see it. And I understand that's going to sound silly because I bet them last night. There was some pushback. Al's brother and I didn't quite see it the same way. I have been saying this all summer and all through the season. This team's going nowhere. Rodgers can't do it anymore.
I don't know if I buy that yet.
He can't blame the media. He can't. You see,
what
Devontae
do you mean
Adams
can't do it anymore. Can't do it in the sense of
he can't carry a team on his own. And
he almost threw for 300 again.
They had a 15-6 lead. He didn't put another point on the board.
I hear you, but he's got no offensive line, no run game. I think they're going to turn it around.
Fault,
I agree.
It's always somebody else's fault.
I sound like Farhan Lalji talking about Nathan Rourke right now.
Exactly. You think Aaron Rodgers
watch
is your
yourself.
guy?
That's our guy.
We love Farhan. And we love Nathan Rourke.
We do. But anyways, I agree. It's always someone else's fault. I got to step that back. I think Aaron will find a way to scratch out a good year. 9-8
individually or as a team?
9-8. They'll go 9. They got a weak schedule.
They're not winning 7 games the rest
They got
of
a
the way.
weak schedule.
Last night was a weak schedule. They had 15-6.
Russ played well.
He did play well. He got better as the game went on.
The first quarter, though, oh my goodness.
He was throwing.
He would have got cut from the LaSalle Pee-wee team.
It was a disaster for him, and they were booing him, and Justin Fields started to do some sprints on the sideline. It was like, this guy's dying to go in there.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, man, that offensive line is awful. Breece Hall actually, he's a better receiving back right now than he is a running back. But see Devontae Adams' quote, too. This would drive me nuts if I was in New York.
Oh, my God. Let's hear this.
And I'm quoting him here because didn't execute, didn't finish. That's been the underlying thing with this team this year, end quote. He's played 1 game.
That's fair.
What the hell does he know about
That's coming from Aaron. He's living with him.
What I don't understand is, Luke, you talked about Aaron Rodgers. You adore the dude. You have a lot of respect for him. If they're going to bring in the golden nugget, how come they don't have the offensive line in place to protect him? Like, isn't that rule number 1 if you're going to bring the guy in there and you want him to be your savior? Everyone says, oh, he's never going to succeed with that O-line. Why the hell is it like that?
So I totally agree. Just before we write Aaron off with Devontae, let's give him at least 1 more week. Let's give him 1 more week. Devontae just got there. I know they have a history. Don't jump off the Aaron Rodgers bandwagon just yet.
Dude,
Trust me.
Sorry,
give me another one.
I'm off, man.
He wasn't even throwing to him yesterday
what about
in the second
timeout
half.
here?
Exactly.
That was strange, Noodles. That was very strange.
I thought that was weird.
But this one was weird, and you should know this because you were betting on him. Garrett Wilson, it was a cover 3 beater. He runs out and up, which was a perfectly executed play and a perfectly thrown ball. It paints him in the chest. It was not tipped. Collinsworth kept saying, I think it might have been tipped. It was not tipped. And even if it wasn't tipped enough. It was like an arrow hit him in the shoulder. Pops up in the air. It's a pick.
It's unlucky.
If he catches that, it's a different game.
All right, I'll grant you that.
It's a different game.
But there's 2 different conversations going on. One is the 40-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles tear. I don't think enough was made of the fact that all he's known is Green Bay his whole life, his whole career. It is very different to join a new organization, new city, new surroundings, new ownership. So that was going to be an issue for him anyway, that he had to get out of the way last year. He didn't because he blew his Achilles out. So he's going through that right now. A year older, a little bit slower, a little bit more gun-shy because of the injury. That's the Rodgers issue isolated, which I don't think is going to be perfected this year. The other elephant in the room, which is much more significant, is the Jets are the Jets.
Okay.
Their owner's a disaster. Their new coach is dropping flags.
Thank you. This is where I'm going to go. I agree. You're acting like I don't agree here. I agree. My question to you here is this. If Rob Saleh is the head coach last night, do they win?
I think they have a better chance of winning.
By far.
Undoubtedly, they have a better chance.
You sit here, even on the broadcast, Ulbrich was like, man, I talk to Robert Saleh every day. This guy was in Seattle my rookie year. I then had to play against his defenses in San Francisco. He's a leader of men. He's a motivational guy. Their defense, post-Robert Saleh, has been atrocious.
They've quit.
The Bills cooked them, and Russ Wilson cooked them. This guy hasn't cooked anyone since 2017.
Yeah, I know. That's concerning.
That's a bad year. Let's give it 2019, but you get the point.
Yeah. I get the point.
I sit here and I say, okay, yes, Aaron is not playing up to snuff. But yesterday, he gets burned one-handed pick, which was a sick play. Okay,
That was a great
the first pick.
great
And then
pick.
the second one is not on Aaron. That's on Garrett Wilson all
I'll
day.
grant you that. I'll
Okay.
grant you
Bounced off
that.
his
And the
chest,
defense is getting torched.
Yes. Sauce Gardner got torched last night.
Listen, Pickens is good. I was talking
know.
on
Yeah,
Jay
big
yesterday.
night.
I said, hey, everyone talking about Russ. Why'd Mike Donlin put Russ in? Because your best offensive player, his name is George Pickens. This guy should be in the conversation. I'm not saying better. I want to be very clear here. But he should be in the conversation with the DK Metcalfs, the A.J. Browns, flirting the Amon-Ra St. Browns, flirting with the top two guys, which is Jefferson and Chase. Flirting. Not with them, but flirting with them.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, he's a 10 guy, 11 guy because he's had Pickett, was Trubisky in there, Mason Rudolph,
Yeah.
and Justin Fields.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing Russ can do, and I know I hated how Collinsworth kept calling it the moon ball.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
Stop it.
The moon ball.
Stop it. But
He was
Russ
really
can
horny for
throw
that
a
last night.
very, very pretty go ball.
Well, he's
And
got
Pickens
touch,
will make
man.
plays.
He's got touch, and credit to Russ, credit to Tomlin, who stuck up for him and said,
Yeah.
"I'm putting you in." And they got a big win last night, and they're at 5-2. Interesting, you don't mention Tyreek Hill, who is literally—I don't even know if he's dressing anymore.
He had 1 target, 0 catches.
Like when Tua went down, this guy disappeared from the league. Like
Crazy.
he has disappeared from the league, and now it sounds like Tua's going to start practicing, and it sounds like he's going to play. Like I think it's an individual's call. You're a professional athlete. You're an adult. You get to make that decision. But the fact that they look this bad, shouldn't that factor into his decision to maybe take some more time off?
Like, what
Can
do you mean?
that?
Why is it worth it to come back?
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying. Like I think the ship has sailed in Miami. It's done. Like
Totally done.
They're 2-4.
Right,
They
yeah,
look
they're-
awful.
How are you going to say that the Jets, they're in the same division?
I think the
and
Jets are
ships,
done.
The ships really sailed to New England.
Yes.
So the
absolutely.
Jets are going to win ball games.
Okay.
Because they're playing these bums.
Maybe they can do that. Maybe they can do that. But they're not catching the Bills. They're not catching the Bills, and I don't think they're going to be one of the wild card teams.
You know who's in the last wild card spot right now? The Indianapolis Colts with Anthony Richardson.
You know-
They're not winning football games.
You know who's coming? Is Cincinnati's coming.
I agree. I
Cincinnati's
agree. We're saying the same thing.
And
here.
the
I'm
Chargers,
just saying,
I think, are a playoff team.
if you don't think Aaron can somehow get to 9 wins, which is probably going to do in the AFC to get that third spot,
It might.
I think it's too early to write him off.
Okay. But what about Tua? Like, what do you think the vibe is around there? Because if you're a guy like Tyreek Hill, you're probably like, I need you to be playing, man.
So I think the vibe is like from outsiders, we're all sitting here like, Tua, what are we doing? What are we doing? But I firmly believe this, that if you peel back the emotion of seeing this guy concussed, you've got to think, at least you got to hope, that not only the Dolphins, but the NFL itself have this guy seeing the world's best concussion docs that there is. And that he's got to be cleared from at least, 100% of those docs. If there's 4 of them, if there's 5 of them.
Absolutely.
For a regular guy who got a concussion, you have to be cleared from your neuropsych on your team and an independent guy. And there's a baseline of tests we would do when we come in the league. So he's probably going to have to pass all those plus extra in order to even step foot on the field. Because the NFL at this point, it's a liability for them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So do I think it's unsafe if he's back out there? Emotionally, sure, that's how I feel. But I cannot wrap my head around Roger Goodell not calling
No, the
Stephen
checks and
Ross
balances will
and
be-
being like, hey, this guy better have the prettiest medical file in order to step back on this field.
Well, I mean, listen, if he comes back and plays well and drags them to the playoffs, that
Again,
is an incredible story.
Agreed.
Incredible
And
story.
but-
that wild card spot, that third spot,
Mm-hmm.
is going to have a gross record.
Do you think the Browns have a better chance of making the playoffs today than they did yesterday?
I mean, is the Pope Catholic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have to, right? With the
Yes.
Watson thing. With Watson going down, I mean,
I hated that they booed him.
well, I guess they kind of
when he got
cheered the
hurt.
injury
Or-
almost.
Yes. It's like
How
that.
do you,
is
yeah, how do you
gross.
feel about that as a player that's, I'm sure, has seen some gruesome stuff on the field?
Listen, obviously Deshaun has a lot of off the field issues, okay, and there's no excuse for any of that. But guy blows his Achilles and you're going to cheer about it. That is, 2 wrongs don't make a right here.
Partsy, it shouldn't shock you, though. People are garbage. They're trash.
yes.
That's just the going rate of people these days.
Totally, Partsy. And again, I have been the most critical of Deshaun's performance on the field. I
There's no excusing the way he's played football.
It's been terrible. And Jameis, to me, will give them a much better chance at winning football games. And Nick Chubb's back. Mm-hmm. Nick Chubb is back, and if they can at least have some sort of offense, not even a great one, just an average one, he'll help the defense out, which should be good. But they're on the field the entire game. So, again, am I ready to put the stamp that they're going to be better? Yes. Are they going to snag that?
No, they're not getting in the playoffs.
I would agree. I think they're in really a tough situation to win ball games.
Do you think the 49ers are a lock to make the playoffs?
Yes, but I'll explain. I think that their Super Bowl stock has gone down the hill.
Yes.
I would put them as the fourth best team in the NFC right now, behind 3 teams in the NFC North.
I agree.
3. Lions right now, head and shoulders above everyone. They're a better team. They just have coaches that love calling punts, fake punts that don't work on their own 7. But anyways, I digress. Then you go to Vikings, Packers 2-3. Then you go to San Fran at 4. The Commanders are flirting in that range. But why I think
Daniels, that's an issue too.
That's an issue.
Up, man.
Why I would say that they are still going to be a playoff team is what you asked. Mm-hmm. Is I'm not buying the Seahawks hype. They won. Yeah, they beat Atlanta. They're 4-3. This is their first legit win. They beat Jacoby Brissett, Skylar Thompson, and Daniel Jones. No, they lost to Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones at home.
Yeah.
I'm missing another.
Is it the Rams they beat?
No, it was not. It was a terrible one. It's going to come to me here in a sec.
I can't remember.
Bo Nix. Excuse me. They beat Bo Nix early, week 1. So they have 3 wins against real bad teams.
Ayuk's out for the season.
Yes.
When's CMC going to play, dude?
I agree. It's not good. But look at that division. The Cardinals are not a good football team. Mm-hmm. The Seahawks have a lot of issues, especially defensively. And the Rams almost lost to Vegas yesterday.
Right.
If it wasn't for Antonio Pierce.
Right. Don't get Noodles back.
Don't get my buddy started. Honest to God, he was blowing my phone up last night. He's like, "Can you ask the guys?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay." Makes sense. I'm like, all right, but I shouldn't have led with that question. I shouldn't have led with that question. I apologize, guys.
We're good.
I think that this team is in big trouble, grave danger as far as being a juggernaut goes, 100%. But do I see them missing the playoffs? I don't. Now, I will say I was very agitated at their performance yesterday, especially because we were on them. I got to get there's an elephant in the room here.
Dude, that was a weird pick.
Okay, hear me out here.
We got to come clean, and we got to be honest like athletes. That was the dumbest thing that's ever been done on this whole segment for its entirety.
That's. Have you listened to Al's brother?
This scumbag that you're sitting beside gave us an out. He said Andy Reid and Mahomes on a bye week, and we could have said that's right.
Partsy.
And you gave me an out too. You said, Parts, if you want to switch it, do it. But I have such a love and a belief in you, Parts. I went with you.
You got to listen to me on this. Don't let these. No, good. Bring him in.
The timing
what
is
perfect time.
Bring in the scumbag. Bring him in.
There it is. Scumbag Central.
Yeah.
Bring in the
winner. It was a dead
Bring
even
in
weekend.
The winner. We're +1 on the year.
Where were
Might
the
as well be
tweets?
+10 the way things have been going recently. I mean, Al's brother, I want you to know this. It's great to see you. Oh, I like a new background. What, are you at a car depot somewhere? Are you on a ship right now? Where are you?
No, I'm in my brother's studio. I was back home visiting the fam. We're in the brother's studio today.
I love it. Well, I want you to know this on behalf of you and myself. I offered Luke an internship on Hayes and Bro. He turned us down, but I'll bet you by week 8 or week 9, he will be our intern.
You realize
that
leave
this guy in the
you guys
dust.
claim +1. You're a push in front of us. That's it. A push.
Irrelevant.
Okay, secondly,
+1 is +1.
This is the best you've ever played. This is the worst streak I've ever been on. I digress again. Partsy, back to the Niners thing. Okay. In all fairness, I agree. Obviously, it's the wrong pick. I got to wear that. That being said, to say that we got jammed by Mahomes and Andy Reid is simply not true. Mahomes threw for 150 and had 2 picks.
Yeah.
If I would have said to you, Patrick Mahomes is going to have 0 touchdowns throwing, 150 and 2 picks, you're saying we take the Niners all day. Brock Purdy played the worst game of his career. The next thing that really jammed me, and you want to see, I was sitting up there in that boardroom, Hayes, steaming. I was so mad. How does Deebo Samuels dress for the game? So he burns one of the 45. We needed this guy to come out here and ball.
Big time.
And he's too sick to play.
He's too sick, and someone was pointing out he looks like James Harden trying to get out of Brooklyn.
And then,
he pulled a Rod of Vermata. Partsy, I had a guy on my team come in after warm-up, and he started taking his gear off, and I said, what are you doing? He goes, not doing it tonight. I got a bit of an infection, chest cough. And I was like, what? And this guy wheels out with his gear on and he can't play?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Dog, and to be honest with you, I knew it was, a bit of a risky pick going into it, but I'm like, I got faith Brock's going to play well today. I think Nick Sorensen will jam up Mahomes a little bit. That was kind of my vibe, which that part happened. And all of a sudden it's like Deebo Samuel's potentially out. I'm like, potentially out? It's 5 minutes before the game.
Yeah, that's
and then they're
crazy.
showing him on the sideline. And just so people listening know here, NFL roster's 53. Only 45 can dress on game day. Okay, now you take out your punter, your kicker, your long snapper. You're down to 42. You got 11 starters each way. There's not even a full backup for every position. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying here? Like that 45, I know it might seem like a lot. Okay, it's a lot of people. It's not. Every one of those people to dress should touch the field in some way, shape, or form.
Wasted a spot.
That's crushing. Yet, in the end, and Al's brother, you can speak to this because this is where our heads were at. If Kansas City's getting points, you have to take them.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do. You can't.
This
bet
is why we will win the season.
Getting points.
You guys are scumbags with flawed logic. Partsy,
Al's brother,
listen,
speak on it.
Partsy, I'd like to say one thing to you. You just got to ignore the Geppetto bot farm. I'm ice cold right now. We split 1-1. Debo's puking on the sideline. Ayuk gets I was going to swear, gets an ACL, which was brutal. I feel terrible for the guy. Okay, we're fine. Ignore Al's brother's bots and Hayes' scumbag remarks. We're going to be +1 after tonight.
Bot farm has been freed. It's been freed, right, Al's brother? We have there's no.
You guys went against Uncle Donnie in Pennsylvania.
That's fine. That's fine. We had to throw something to you. We want this to stay close, right, Al's brother?
That's right. That's right. That's all it was.
What do we got for tonight? What do we got for tonight?
Well, we got two games that I wouldn't suggest. I mean, the Ravens-Bucs game's a good ball game.
It's a good game.
Like those are two good teams. That's the one you guys happen to be on. Are we starting with that? I guess that's the first game, right? Ravens -4.5 on FanDuel at Tampa Bay. I have a feeling I know where you're going with this one because you're not seeing things clearly. Luke?
Partsy, I've got to go with Baltimore. And the 4.5 annoys me. We just got jammed by a point. But I sit here, and there's going to be stats thrown out here in a sec, and I know where Al's bro is going to go. But you got to look at Baltimore last 4 games. They're the hottest team, them and Detroit, let's say, or 1A, 1B, hottest team. They have the best offense with Detroit. If you're going to start the Super Bowl today, it's probably Baltimore versus Detroit. Okay, Derrick Henry is absolutely humming. He's on a historical run over these 4 games. Lamar has been awesome. Zay Flowers is coming into his own. And the defense has gotten much, much, much better from the first few weeks where they're blowing fourth-quarter leads. The only way I think we get jammed here is if we're up, 10, 11 points, and Baker comes down with a little backdoor cover. But I'm not playing a backdoor cover, Partsy. I hope you're on board with this. I like the Ravens. I like them to cover this number.
I like what I've been seeing from the Ravens parts, and I do agree they're rounding into form, and I fully support because we're moving in a different direction where if I disagree, we have to have an on-the-spot meeting and rethink things. But I'm totally on board. I'm totally on board. Right. Al's brother, do you agree?
Yeah, Al's brother, do you agree?
I mean, this is going to be a good game. I'll say 4.5 is a lot.
I'm going to clip this if it doesn't happen and send it to Freezing Cold Takes. So do you agree?
I think this is a tough game.
Cat's
I'm glad that we don't have to pick this. I'll say that. I'm glad we don't got to pick it.
I do too.
Here's the thing. I do think that the Bucs have a chance to keep this game close. I think they'll keep it at least competitive into a field goal. I believe they can. I mean, as good as the Ravens defense has been, they have been susceptible to giving up a lot in the air. I mean, Burrow went off on them. Last week they got cooked by Daniels, and, he's a rookie, but he did really well throwing the ball. Baker Mayfield's been unbelievable. He's been one of the best passers in football. Leads the NFL in touchdown passes this year coming into the week. So I think what Liam Cohen's doing, you got Baker, Evans, Godwin. Say it then.
Say I would take the Bucs.
In the middle, stopping the run.
Listen,
I don't mind it. I don't mind it.
I don't mind a home dog when it's the Bucs.
That's cowardice.
Baker's playing with a chip on his shoulder, man. He's been unreal this year. And another thing I'll say is Todd Bowles, you give him – I like Todd Bowles in terms of having the Derrick Henry conundrum in front of him. He will have that defense ready.
I got a proposal for you.
That. Now,
I got a proposal.
might cook him on the outside.
If you guys want to take the Bucs, You can take them. I'll pick the second
it's your
game, and
pick.
we'll do a double pointer.
It's your pick. There's no need for that.
Al's, bro, take the Bucks for 2 points.
We've done all our tremendous information on the other
cat's
game.
out of the bag.
No, it's
fraudulent
not.
activity.
Listen, the Ravens are a good team.
You guys want to play this way? I'll play this way.
Ravens are a good team. I'm just saying. You give me 4.5, Al's brother, at home with Baker, and I think Todd Bowles will have that defense cooking on a long week. I think this could be a close game. I do, too. I got no problem with being on the Bucs tonight. All right, our game. Chargers. Now, everyone's just tuned in. They want to hear what we have to say. Hayes and Bro, when it comes to our picks. People are selectively muting Owen Wilson, and they're saying,
ratings spike right now. Ratings spike right now.
Spike right now when we come to the clock. What is the line here? Chargers 1.5. It's 1.5. Minus 1.5 at the Cardinals. Al's brother, the people want to know, where are we at?
I think this is a pretty bad matchup for the Cardinals here. I do like the road favorites here. I do like the Chargers. Okay. That Cardinals team is just a bad defense. They really struggle against the run. They're giving up 4.7 yards per carry. That's the bread and butter of what John Harbaugh wants to do, and that'll set up a little bit for Herbert.
Jimmy Harbaugh.
Absolutely.
We love it. We love
Jimmy Harbaugh. Run the ball, play defense, and that's
John
exactly
Harbaugh?
what they've been doing this
This
year.
guy doesn't even know their head coach.
It's irrelevant.
Jimmy Harbaugh. Jimmy Harbaugh. My bad.
Family.
Jimmy
The dynasty.
Harbaugh.
The dynasty.
They both do the same thing. Play defense, run the football. They're both playing on Monday nights.
That's right. That's right.
He doesn't even know their head coach.
Rick Harbaugh.
Rick Harbaugh. We love Rick Harbaugh and the Chargers. I'm with you, Alice, brother. Continue.
Yeah, well, defensively, they're playing well. They're giving up an NFL low 13.2 points per game this year. They contain the run game really well, and they should be able to bottle up James Conner. If they can contain Marvin Harrison Jr., limit the explosive plays, they should be able to keep the Cardinals out of the end zone tonight. It's 1.5. It's basically a pick 'em. 58% of the bets coming in on the Chargers. 65% of the money, though, coming in on the Chargers. So there's some sharps out there backing this team. Mm-hmm. And here's a kicker, gentlemen. Road favorites this year hitting at a 72% rate. That's going to go up
to do.
I love
after
that.
tonight.
I love that. It's a moon that would suggest the Chargers roll tonight, too. Yeah, listen, the Cardinals, like with Kyler Murray, you don't know what you're going to get. I find every half he supplies something different in terms of productivity. But I like the way Harbaugh has kind of attacked. Again, they've built up the offensive line. They're really building towards being a run game, a tough game. That defense has had talent for years. They've just never performed well enough. I think the Chargers show up tonight. I wouldn't be shocked if they won by a touchdown tonight. Lock it in, brother. Chargers laying 1.5 in Arizona.
You guys are on the same page.
You like that too?
No, I don't like it. I'm not saying anything.
You're not going to make any more commentary.
I'm poker facing right now.
All
it's
right.
a war.
Fine.
Before I thought we were civil.
How about your partner? Does he have anything to say?
No, he's not a scumbag. We're just going to sit here.
He's an upstanding citizen. Look at this guy.
He's a man of integrity.
Why would we give you free, or why would my partsy give you just free information?
The pick's in. We don't want your information.
Okay. Hey, look, we got a new way of playing the game.
That's right.
You want to get down and dirty. This guy used to crush people in their midsection when the play was going on for no reason.
For no reason.
We're killers.
You guys are
You guys want to play hardball with us?
I'm
Go
from
ahead.
Windsor.
All right.
You ever been down there, Hayes? It's gross.
Apparently, it's the Sun Belt of Canada. You guys are in shorts and T-shirts in the wintertime, man.
Beautiful weather.
Beautiful weather down in Windsor. According to your partner, it's basically Sarasota.
Yeah, I mean, it is nice weather, but it's a grimy place. Blue collar down there. That's how things are going to go.
If you can see Detroit, it's grimy. All you got to do is see
I love it here. Don't get me wrong. But we're about to make this into the – I'm sure Partsy's played their old Windsor Arena. That's a good barn.
There too, man.
You played there.
I played the Spitz. It was a disgusting building back when I played.
That's got down there we call it a building full of character.
Yes.
Yes.
That's precisely what it was. Smoking allowed.
That's
up
right.
until like a year ago.
Ripping darts. Let's go.
All right. You guys are on the Ravens. We're on the Chargers. The Harbaugh brothers. Roll tonight. Rick and Ron Harbaugh. Rick and Ron Harbaugh. We love them tonight. Partsy, it's great seeing you. We lead with class. We are leaders of men, and we are role models. Don't you ever forget that.
Absolutely, Hazy B.
+1 after tonight, Partsy.
Great to see you. There it is, Al's brother and Luke Willson. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Chris Johnston will join us in about a half an hour. Leafs have a game tonight against the Lightning, then they're in Columbus tomorrow. It sounds like Joseph Woll will play tomorrow in Columbus.
Of course.
Sounds that way. Nothing's being confirmed. I don't know why you can't just be out You know what they're probably concerned about is that he's going to get hurt again. They're going to make some announcement, and then he's going to wake up tomorrow and say, actually, I don't know if I'm ready to go or whatever.
I could have picked out that comeback game a mile away, I'll tell you that.
Why do you say that?
You called it, oh.
Columbus on the road? Is that?
I don't know. There's something about it, and it might not be fair, and it's ridiculously old school. I would have said, I don't know. It's back-to-back. You got to throw the guy in somewhere, but it seems like, yeah, I'll come back there. Team that's really I don't know. It just bugs me for some reason. I would have just said Boston or Florida when we play them. You'll get back in the lineup. We got two guys that are playing good right now. But the kid's getting healthy, so put him back in a game. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the conundrum is that you want Stolarz to play against, like, your best competition right now.
Yeah, he's playing well.
Yeah, he's playing well. So you want him against Tampa tonight. You want him against Boston on Saturday night.
Yeah. I thought Hildeby played good enough in New Jersey to warrant another start. I would have played him tomorrow.
That still might happen. Again, who knows where Wall's going to be by the end of tonight into tomorrow.
I would ask then, the only thing is, again, this is more of a CBA thing. If Hildeby's on emergency recall and Woll is coming off, he has to go down, I believe. I think there's some semantics part of that. But you're right, if they felt that Hildeby deserved another start, then you just don't activate Woll until after Hildeby start tomorrow.
And guys, I'm not some like crazy jerk. I've had goalie fatigue over the last 10 years where it might be fair, I might be crazy, I might be seeing it from the wrong point of view. I want the kid to be healthy and play well and to be durable. But there's been a circus going on here in net for 10 years. That's just the flat-out truth. Freddie Anderson onto Jack Campbell, onto Matt Murray, onto this, onto that. It's like, I can't stand, and it happened in Game 7, wondering if a guy's going to skate out for warm-up and be able to play in the game, in a big game. It's like, it bothers me. I find it bothersome. I don't know why.
It's been a long time, really. It's honestly since, like, Ed Belfour was in net. That's how, It's been 20 years in Toronto of a cycle of goaltenders.
Was Belfour after Cujo?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, because, I mean.
03-04, Eddie was great.
Yeah, those guys were money in the bank. They played every night. It was a story when they didn't play. That's really what it was. The Belfours, the Cujos, the Felix, those guys played a ton of games. You're right. Like, it comes down to one word, guys, trust. And right now, with his injury history, he's got to regain trust in his body, trust in himself, and within, the organization that he can get through that. And I hope he does. I hope this is just a bump in the road to start in the first 5 games of the season.
It is kind of crazy where at the end of last season, the end comment was from the general manager, he's got some promise, this guy, but we got to find a way to get him healthy. Like he's always injured. Yeah, That's coming from Tree's mouth. And sure enough, before the first game after the last season ended in a do-or-die must-win Game 7, he doesn't skate out for warm-up because something tweaked. And then before Game 1 of the next season, something tweaked. I don't know. I've just seen the story played out, and it's so frustrating. So
you can see
I hope nothing but the best for the kid, Hayes.
Yeah, you can see coaches, we keep talking about the happy meter. Ottawa got a win over the weekend. There was a shot at Travis Green at one point where he was looking at his goaltending.
His head was going to pop right off.
And
he didn't like the goal. I mean, it was a bad goal.
It was a bad goal, but it was a double entendre because it wasn't just, Forsberg. It was like, why isn't Omar playing this game? Like, we just got you. We need you desperately. And he's not. He played one game, and then he's banged up. I believe he's on the road trip, right? You're in Utah right now, Noodles.
He's played. They sent Sogard down. I don't know if you guys saw. You wouldn't have saw this, but Sogard got hurt last night in the minors, like carried off the ice.
Okay,
so that's not good.
That's suboptimal.
Allmark. So Allmark, I think, will play tomorrow. But Allmark's played 2 games. I will say I was happy for Forsberg because they stuck it out. They ended up getting a big win against Tampa. They deserved to win that game.
Yeah, I agree.
They played
I thought it was
very,
a fun
very
game.
well.
It was like a really good game, and they were ready to play. And they got the 2 points, and Vasilevsky had to stick it out, take it on the chin. Right, he got shelled. He kept going, and Cooper was like, "Oh, let's grind it out here, man. We got to find a way to get a point here," and they couldn't do it. And then you look even just within the division, the Jim Montgomery stuff with Brad Marchand over the weekend. like losing his mind, and understandably so, because Marchand is trying to dipsy doodle at the blue line. Like if you see the clip, you're like, what is Brad doing here? Like he's trying to dangle two guys at the opponent's blue line.
He gives him a little poke
and a push.
I love it.
Marchand must have said something to him, or just it knew he like intentionally was like, I'm not even going to look at you.
He didn't even look at him.
There, man.
He didn't even look at him. That's the thing. Marchand he knew it was coming. You could hear the coach yelling at him, and I think old Monty gave him just a little push on the shoulder, going, I'm over. The noise is coming from over here. I'm right here. Listen, that's what coaches. I don't know if you guys have seen, Craig Berube. Like I've seen the once in a while the camera go up. Like he's had some choice language for the guys on the bench.
Sure.
Even the game was it a couple games ago? They were up. The Leafs were up and pretty comfortable, and they had a couple off shifts.
Holmberg. Like he just gave it to him.
And you could see him, saying, wake the F up. Like he was giving it to guys. And listen, coaches know what is at stake right now, especially early in the season where you're trying to establish stuff. Like this isn't, wade your way in and coach smiling behind the bench. Like they're playing for keeps. And I kind of love it. I don't know.
I do too, and especially in the division, because look who's leading it right now in the Atlantic. There's Florida. They've played more games than anybody. But they're 4-2-1, and they've been up and down. They've had their issues, and Barkov's been banged up. But they're in a position where they don't appear to be having a cup hangover, and they benefited greatly from being in the position they were in the standings last year. And I get the sense that Toronto, Tampa, like every coach is issuing different statements for different reasons. Travis Green, he just wants to get Ottawa into the playoffs. I don't think their goal is to win the division. I think that. Sure, why not have that goal? But I don't think it's a realistic one. But like the Leafs and Craig Berube and Tampa, I'm sure with John Cooper and Jim Montgomery in Boston, they're like, you can't piss away points in October. Like you got to take advantage and stay on the gas and stay on it all season. And it can be very beneficial if you put yourself in a better spot by the end of the year.
All the teams that have great seasons, it's like a sprint from the start of the season right till January 15th. And if they're in enough, they can absorb some kind of poor streak. Mm-hmm. But if you're up and down like a yo-yo leading up to then, you're literally playing with fire where it can go either way.
Well,
a 2-week stretch will cost you the playoffs.
Yep.
And keep in mind, you have somewhat of a condensed schedule, too, because of that Four Nations Cup. So you're playing, it seems like you're playing every second or third night, like you're jammed in a bunch of – and then you got, 2 weeks off and that All-Star / Four Nations Cup. So you can't get into – you hope to get into a positive groove, but if you get in a negative groove where you're playing 5 games in a week like the Leafs are playing – you can't have a 1-4 week. You can if you could dig out, but I'm saying it's not favorable. Like the worst case scenario when you've got a bunch of games, you've got to be playing at 550, 600 hockey type of thing if you want to be at the top of the division, not chasing it at the bottom.
Absolutely.
That might be the one positive for the Nashville Predators, that hopefully moving forward they can't possibly be this bad to string another stretch of hockey like this again the rest of the season. Well, they might have dips where they lose 1 or 2, but their only hope is that this is a blip and it's a bad start and they get trucking after that, because if they don't, man, they're screwed.
Well, and Soros, his numbers have not been great either. I mean, he'll be better. They're all going to be better, yes, of course. But I don't know. I mean, San Jose is what they are. There's certain teams where it's like you are who you are, and that's just the way it's going to be. And then other teams like Nashville, Colorado, Vancouver, Vegas has been up and down. They've lost 3 in a row. That's specifically the West, where you would, over time, the cream is going to rise to the top more than likely. Like, unless you suffer catastrophic injuries or it's just a completely down season for everyone across the board, which is rare, you'll likely figure it out. But what can happen, and you're seeing it with, maybe the Jets right now, talent is one thing, but when you let, like, negative vibes seep into the room and you start losing, that kind of stuff can snowball on you. Like, it can, all of a sudden, guys are like, what are we doing here? How did this work? Why'd that guy get that money?
You're talking the New York Jets, right?
The New York Jets, not the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
Jets are 5-0. The Winnipeg Jets are in the complete opposite side. I mean, how fun was that last night? They're calling out Rutger McGroarty Like the fans, where is Rutgers?
Perfect.
And they get the win, and Rutgers not in the NHL, and people in Winnipeg are loving it. It's early, but at the same time, you can kind of set the scene on who you are and what you want to be based on what you do in the first 5 to 10 games.
Yeah, and you just got to settle into your your top players have to drag you into it. And I watched Dallas the other day. I watched Colorado play, which was interesting. They ended up winning, but they're coming. You can see, and they're starting to get. I don't know if you guys saw Nichushkin is now skating by himself and eligible to come back to the team November 13th. But you can't talk about the word trust. This guy 2 years in a row in the playoffs.
Yeah. Like if they think Nichushkin shows up and then they just become a cup team again, that would be crazy, in my opinion.
But they are missing like 6 of their top guys. But they're starting to come. Like they need a goaltender, like that outside of Georgie 5.
Who in the hell is possibly available?
Well,
and I don't want to go down the road of depth guy. Like, is there a star goalie available that Colorado can A, afford, and B, acquire?
No, Georgiev played too much last year. He proved that he can be a 1. He just played too much. Like you guys heard Johnny last week. I think he led the league or was close to leading the league in wins because the team is good. He just gives them, decent goaltending. What he needs is a partner to take some of that time off. I believe they grabbed Kakinen off waivers, but he got hurt. Now they're waiting for him to get healthy. I mean, again, pick him up, give it a shot, but he's not going to drag you to the promised land. I mean, Georgiev's got to be the guy that.
Sogaard's my favorite one. He went down and then got hurt down. Like that's insane.
That sucks. That
happens
sucks for him.
It happens.
Get hurt.
All right. We've got Chris Johnston coming up. The Nail Gun, our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. A clue for a new pair of tickets this week. Alice Brothers' first clue of the week coming up as well. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, CJ coming up. We're going to have my 10-pack of teams that cannot win the Stanley Cup this year right at 6 o'clock.
Dude, it's such an ignorant list, but we're doing it.
It's really an ignorant way of putting it.
It is.
And I'm going to send Noodles into the firing line tomorrow because, anyway, I'll get to that at 6 o'clock.
Oh, great.
Only one team. Only one team. But one of them will be represented tomorrow
Noodles,
night.
We're not associated with it. It's his list.
Right, it's
That's
not
the
you
best
guys.
thing. It's the best thing about all this stuff. It's his stuff.
Bunt. You just hear all you do is you drag bunt and throw me into a dressing room.
It's
and
sickening.
Then they're gonna be
I know that.
People will walk up and be like, "Your buddy Hayes is an idiot." That's
I know
what,
that.
You're going to get.
I understand that
tomorrow if it's one of these teams that I have to deal with. Anyways,
it's going to be one of them. I'm just telling you, it's going to be one of them. Something to chew on. Brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. From tip-offs to tie bites and puck drops to pizza. BP's elite lineup of apps, wings, and ice-cold beers, always dialed in for game time. Hustle in your local BP tonight. We've been asking, with this dream matchup in the World Series, what other kind of storybook finals could you come up with throughout sports? And there's been a lot of them, obviously, people saying Leafs versus Edmonton. But I think at the forefront of this really just points to how great this World Series is. Like, if you're Rob Manfred working on your short game in the office, and someone came to you and said,
fired up, man.
Pick how you want to see this play out. You would say, Ohtani signs with the Dodgers. He has one of the most magical seasons of all time. Judge has one of the most magical seasons of all time for the Yankees, and both of them cruise to the World Series, and they collide.
But think how awesome of it is for so many different angles, Hayes. Like, obviously, all eyes will be on this. But think of how many young kids are going to watch this World Series, man. Like, to say, I want to see Judge versus Ohtani and get into baseball. Everything. Like, it's the dream scenario.
This is Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6.
Yes,
you had to see it.
I was there.
So was I.
It's huge. Keep in mind, guys, you guys were there.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. With my grandfather yelling at everyone to sit down in front of him.
It was he yelling at people all bent out of shape?
I had to say to him, you got to stop it, because he took me to Maple Leaf Gardens, wrestling he called it.
Yeah.
And he would yell at everyone in front of him to sit down because he couldn't see. And I'm like, Granddad, they're not going to sit down, man. He loved it, though. He loved it.
That's great, man. That's awesome. Yeah, you can't yell at people at a WrestleMania to sit down. It's WrestleMania. Come on.
Well, you'd end up in a wrestling hold yourself if you get into it with some. I will say, don't you think Major League Baseball is so lucky this happened, considering, let's remember, Ohtani signs and the scandal that potentially
that's right.
His season could have gone sideways. Like, if he's involved in any type of, shenanigans, like the guy who is he in the clink?
The interpreter?
Interpreter?
I'm not sure what's up with him, man. He may be walking around free in L.A. Like, I'm not sure what he's doing.
A beard and a mustache on, but it could
have
gone sideways, put it that way.
You're right.
And they dodged a bullet, and then he ends up having an amazing season.
Yeah, that got swept. That was a pretty big rug and a pretty big broom. It was just, we're sweeping that away, and Ohtani's going to go 50-50, and we're just, going on our merry way. And the guy's been lights out in the playoffs, and there's really not there isn't an underdog story like that. That's what's kind of amazing about this. Like, I don't know if we appreciated this at the time, but when Mahomes faced Brady in the Super Bowl, that is something that we will reference for a long, long time. And, you look at when LeBron faced Steph Curry, and it was basically LeBron with whoever he could compile and going up against that dynasty in Golden State. Like, that's kind of what this feels like. And that's not to suggest the Yankees have been a dynasty. They haven't been. The Dodgers have been closer to it. The Dodgers have been incredible for years, and they have won a World Series recently. But just the way these two teams were so much, it seemed seemingly better than everyone else all year, led by the two guys individually, that you can't top this. Like, you can't. This again would be probably McDavid and Matthews, in their primes meeting in a Cup final. Like, that's the only other equivalent I can think of right now.
Maybe there's some patience involved too, as far as not just firing someone when it doesn't work out. If you look at Aaron Boone and Cashman, They were supposed to get fired the last 4 seasons or whatever it was, and they just stuck with them, and maybe they are the right guys, and maybe you don't have to fire the guy every single time.
That's the Mark Shapiro view, right? Yeah. Just stick with it, and it will work out.
I think that's a completely different scenario, man.
I think it probably is.
Yeah,
it might
a lot
be,
different.
Final hour coming up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050, soon to be up on TSN 2.